Today's video is packed full of rustic Christmas decor DIYs I know you're going to love. I will be using one of these styrofoam cones. This measures 2 3/4 of an inch by 6 inches, and you can find these at Dollar Tree. I did buy this package of 2 from Hobby Lobby. You'll also need a styrofoam ball. These measure 1.8 inches. Again, you can find those at Dollar Tree. I'm going to insert a dowel at the very top of the cone. This is really going to help me paint it, but also I will need that hole there later on in the project. Now, I didn't have a light brown paint, so I just mixed some old brown paint with some white paint to kind of give me a lighter brown color. I'm going to paint the entire styrofoam cone with that, and then I'll take that dowel and push that about halfway through the styrofoam ball, and I'm going to paint that with the exact same color. So once you have both of these painted and they have dried, we're then going to remove that dowel and we're going to place some hot glue in there so that we'll be able to secure the dowel in the styrofoam ball. So once that glue sets up, I'm going to take my handheld miter shears and cut that off. I'm going to leave about 2 inches coming out of the styrofoam ball and then add a little bit more glue to make sure it's secure. Then I'm going to take some Dollar Tree twine and hot glue this around the bottom of the cone. Now you do want to make sure you have your hot glue gun set on the low setting so that you don't burn your styrofoam. I'm being very careful for the first 2 or 3 strands around just so I can make sure that it is straight and that it will sit flat. Then I'll just add some hot glue in about 3 or 4 different areas and then wrap it around the cone. And I'll continue to do this as I go up. That's why we painted the cone, just in case you could see any of it peeking in between the twine. And I wasn't worried too much about getting full coverage the first time, because once I get to the top and I glue that down, I'm going to start and make my way from the top back down to the bottom. I kind of liked the thickness and the texture that the double layer of twine gave me. Once I get down to the very bottom and cut the excess twine off, I will go back over this very carefully with a lighter just to burn or singe any of those little fuzzies off and kind of melt some of that hot glue to push it back in so it won't be as noticeable. Then we're going to start on the styrofoam ball. I like to hot glue the end, just fold it over, let that set up. And then I'm going to start at the very top of the ball and work my way down until I get to the dowel at the bottom. It should look something like this. I will take my time on this one to make sure that the twine is very close together, that there aren't any gaps, and that it is straight as I go all the way around, because I want to make sure this one looks very clean. I will wrap this all the way to the bottom where the dowel is and then cut the excess off, and then I will use my lighter again to burn any of the little fuzzies off. Then once I have all of that done, we can then attach the styrofoam ball to our cone using some hot glue. So we are making a rustic rope angel. So once we have that in place, and it should look something like this, I'm going to take some wired jute cord. This comes from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap that around about the middle way of the styrofoam ball. You want to leave maybe 2.5 inches of excess at the end. So we'll cut that down, and then we're going to twist those 2 end pieces together very tightly, and that is what we will use to attach to our rope angel. And I'm going to do that using some hot glue right there at the styrofoam ball and at the base where the cone and the ball meet. So once that sets up, now I'm going to singe all those fuzzies off again, and we're going to create some wings. I'm just using some plain cardboard, and I'm going to draw out a set of wings on one side. Then I'll make a mark on the other side of the cone so I'll know the width of what I need in the back to attach to the cone once we cut this out. So I'm just going to cut out one side of the wings for now up to the marks that I made on the other side. I can now fold that over, trace out those wings so that they will match on each side, and I will cut those down. I do like to hold the angel over the wings to make sure I don't need to trim any excess off and that everything matches. And then I'm going to use some burlap. This is some pretty wide burlap. You can find that at Walmart or Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces down a little bit larger than our wings. Using Mod Podge, I'm going to apply that over the entire top part of the wings. And then we can set this down on top of our burlap. Flip it over, we'll apply some Mod Podge on that side, a nice even layer. Add our second piece of burlap. Now I am going to go over both pieces of the burlap with the Mod Podge to seal it in and go beyond the cardboard to make sure that the burlap seals on the outside of our cardboard. And once I finish that, I will set it to the side and let it start drying. I'm going to take 2 jingle bells. This comes from Hobby Lobby, but Dollar Tree also sells some small little bells. And apply a layer of Mod Podge to both of those. Then using some cinnamon, I'll sprinkle that over the Mod Podge and roll the bells around in the cinnamon. This is going to give us a nice rustic look. Once that dries, you do want to apply a layer of Mod Podge over your cinnamon to seal that in so it doesn't come off. Once dry, we'll take a piece of jute. I'm going to tie a knot in one end. On the other end, I will feed that through one of the bells and pull that all the way up to the knot. And then about an inch above that, I'll tie another knot so that we'll be able to add the second bell, and they'll dangle about an inch apart. Once you have your second bell on there, then we're going to attach this to our rope angel just by tying it around the base where the styrofoam ball and the cone meet. For some extra cuteness, I'm going to take some Dollar Tree lace ribbon and just tie a simple bow right above where we added the bells. And then I'll trim the tails down, and I also add a dot of glue just to make sure that it stays in place. Now my burlap wings are not completely dry. I do want to go ahead and cut around the cardboard, but I am cutting a little bit larger than the cardboard so that the 2 burlap pieces will seal together at the edge and you won't see the cardboard in the middle. And because it's not completely dry, I am able to bend this around to form the shape where I want to attach it to the back of our angel. Once I have that formed, I can then hot glue this to the back of the angel, and this project is finished. And I think it turned out so adorable, and I would love to know what you guys think. Today's video is part of a woodland holiday collab with some very talented creators and dear friends of mine, Ray at One Way Designs 238, Nadia at DIY with Nadia, Jenny at Lovely Moments Creating, myself, Aria at DIY with Aria, and Brenda with Rustic and Lace DIY. I will have the link to the playlist in my description box below. I hope that you will go over, show them some love, and let them know that I sent you guys. This next project is very simple to make, but turns out stunning. Take 2 empty boxes, no matter what size, We're going to also use some microfiber cloth from Dollar Tree. So depending on how big your boxes are will depend on how many microfiber cloths you need. And you can wrap it just like you're wrapping a Christmas present, except we're going to be using some hot glue, and you can either start on the short ends or the long ends. Just make sure that you have the furry part on the outside and that as you are gluing it down, you're pulling it very tightly to the box. My boxes were small enough that I was able to wrap both of them with just one microfiber cloth. Once you have everything glued together and it looks like a cute present, we're going to use some burlap ribbon with this lace trim in the middle. This is from Dollar Tree, and we're going to glue that around the center of each of the boxes. And then once I get to the back side, I will glue that down, and then I'm going to go in the opposite direction with the ribbon, wrapping it the long way. Again, you'll do this technique with both of your boxes. I have a few pieces of greenery. This came off of a Hobby Lobby stem, but you can find greenery at Dollar Tree as well. And I will hot glue that on each side under the ribbon. I also have some white berries from Dollar Tree that I want to add next to the greenery. Then I'm going to take the smaller box and hot glue it on top of the larger box. I'm centering it, but I'm also pushing it to the very back part of the bottom box. Then I'm going to take that same greenery and white berries and add the same thing to the top box. I decided to add in a few frosted pine cones. I'm going to do this in a group of 3 on the top box and then add 1 on each corner of the bottom box. Then I'll fill in the center where the 2 boxes meet with a few more white berries to finish off this project. For this project, you will need some Christmas trees from Dollar Tree. Originally, I wasn't sure if I was going to need 2 or 3, but I end up only using 2. You'll want to remove the base from both of the trees and then pull your branches all to one side. So you'll have one side on the back that's flat, and you'll have all your branches pulled to the front. So they'll look something like this. You'll do the exact same thing to the other tree, and then we'll be able to attach the 2 together to make a nice full tree. So we'll attach them back to back using some zip ties, and you can find these in Dollar Tree. I'm going to start at the base to make sure that the bottom pieces of the tree stay together and that they are even at the bottom. And then I'll add about 3 more zip ties throughout. So it'll be a total of 4 zip ties to really secure your tree together. And then I'll cut the excess zip ties off. Then I'm going to take some Dollar Tree garland, and I'm going to start at the top, wrap that around a branch, and then wrap this around the tree to fill in where the metal pieces are in the middle of the tree. It's going to cover that up, and then I'll go all the way down to the very bottom, and then I'll take that end piece and tuck it around one of the pieces at the very base of the tree. Then you'll want to fluff all of your branches out, and see, this just makes the tree look so much fuller than just one of the Dollar Tree Christmas trees. At the very top, I just twisted those together and then folded it over. Because the garland's a little bit too long, I'm going to trim all of that down with some scissors at the base. And this is completely optional. It's just a personal preference. I'm going to take some white chalk paint and dry brush over all of the branches. This is not only going to give me that snowy effect, but I think that it just elevates the look of it. See the difference between what's painted and what's not? It just looks fuller and more of a higher end piece. Then using some of Dollar Tree's battery operated micro lights, I'm going to wrap one strand around the tree. I also have some mini pine cones. This came in a bag during the fall from Hobby Lobby last year, and they've lasted me a really long time. I'm going to hot glue one to the end of the branch. You do have to hold it there just a bit for that hot glue to cool down, but they sit perfectly on these branches, and I did this around the entire tree. I found this gorgeous star ornament at Dollar Tree that I thought would be perfect for this. I love the neutral colors in it. To attach it to the top of the tree, I'm going to use a barbecue skewer, and because it's styrofoam, I can just put this in the bottom of the star, and I'll leave about 2 inches. Then I'm going to untwist just a little bit at the top, and then I can twist that tree around the barbecue skewer to hold it in place. You could add a little bit of hot glue if you want to. Then I have this neutral basket. I believe this came from Dollar General for about $2. And I'm going to use some Dollar Tree styrofoam to insert the tree into. This will sit perfectly and flat inside of my basket, but to make sure it doesn't topple over, I will add a couple of pieces on each side. To cover up that styrofoam, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree Spanish moss, and this tree is simply gorgeous. I know these are not from Dollar Tree. These are from Dollar General, and you can get these for $1. You get 2 in one pack. They are the 3D wooden tree cutouts. They have a smaller one and then a larger one. I thought that was an excellent deal for $1. The 2 smaller ones, I'm going to give those 1 coat of white chalk paint on both sides. For the 2 larger ones, I'm going to mix some brown acrylic paint with a splash of water to create a stained look and paint both sides of the 2 larger ones. And the acrylic paint that I'm using is called brown oxide. Once the paint has dried, I'm going to take that same brown oxide and dry brush around the 2 white trees around all of the edges to give it a nice distressed look. So this is completely optional. You don't have to do that, but I thought that it would blend very well with the larger ones. So they'll look something like this. Then I'm going to take one of Dollar Tree's signs and remove the beaded hanger as well as the staples from the back. On the front side for the raw wood outline, I'm going to use that same stain mixture and paint that as well as all of the outside edges. Now that all of our paint has dried, we can assemble our trees. And I'm also using this beautiful sleigh ornament from Dollar Tree. We're going to create a small vignette. So I'm just going to place my trees on our sign and then use one of Dollar Tree's bottle brush trees, as well as the sleigh. And then from Walmart, they have these cute picks. I'm just going to remove the sled from the little pick on the back, prop that up against the tree, add in a Dollar Tree battery operated votive to finish off this small vignette. For this project, you could use some wooden tree ornaments from Dollar Tree. However, I'm going to be using these wooden tree ornaments from Hobby Lobby. They're $3 and they come 4 in a pack, and I will be using 5. They are a lot larger and a lot thicker than the ones at Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the hanger as well as all of the staples and then go over each of those holes and blend them in with some sandpaper. One I'm going to leave natural because I like the color of that. One of them I'm going to paint with some antique wax made by Waverly, and then I'll blend that in with a dry paper towel. And the other three, I'm going to add a layer of Mod Podge to the top of each one of these and allow those to thoroughly dry. I have had this sign in my craft room for a couple of years now. It came from Family Dollar for $1, but you can find wooden pieces at Dollar Tree. This one measures 15 3/4 of an inch by 2 1/4 of an inch. Now I do like the embellishments on one side, so I'm going to flip that over, and on the back side I'm going to give that one coat of black chalk paint, or you could use a black acrylic paint. And I am painting 4 dowels. That's completely not necessary. You really only need 1 dowel for this. And I did paint the ends as well as the sides of the sign piece. Once all of my paint has dried, I want to line the trees up so I will know where to drill holes. And originally I thought, well, I would only be able to fit 4, so I started off by just adding a piece of painter's tape where each of those trees were, so I would know exactly where to drill my holes. And I'm using a drill bit the width of the dowel so that they'll be able to fit down in there securely. And then I created a decal on my Cricut, but you could certainly use stickers from Dollar Tree, or you could even hand write this out. I will have this as a free printable on my website where you can go and print that and then trace it onto your project if you like. And you could use like paint or a paint pen. And I'm also using some scrapbook paper now. The smallest ones on the left came from Temu and the larger one came from Hobby Lobby. I just went through and found 3 patterns that I thought would look really well together, and they all happened to come from the Temu pack. Now that the Mod Podge has dried on those 3 trees, I'm going to lay down a heating mat and line up my scrapbook paper, add a piece of parchment paper, and then go over that with an iron set on about 365. It doesn't take long. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it is going to heat up that Mod Podge and seal your scrapbook paper to your wood piece. Then I'll set that to the side, let it cool, and add the other 2 pieces of scrapbook paper to the other 2 trees using the same method. Then I'll trim most of the paper off around the edges with a pair of scissors, and then using a fine grit sandpaper, I'll go over the edges to get an even, smoother finish. You do want to make sure that you go in one direction so that you don't rip the paper on the top of your tree. And I'll do that for all 3 of the trees that I added the scrapbook paper to. Now I realized I really want that one in the center, so I'm going to add another hole using the drill right there in the center. So you may want to space them out more, but I still think it turns out beautiful in the end. Now I'm going to line my trees up the way that I want them to look on the sign, and then I'll add that dowel in the far left hole and then hold my tree up to see about how high I want it to be so I can make a mark, and then I'm going to cut that down with my handheld miter shears. I have this listed in my Amazon store, and the link to that's in my description box below if you guys are interested. Then I'm going to take the longer dowel and put it on the other side so that once I glue this dowel down, I can take a measurement and then I'll know exactly where to cut the other one. And the reason I'm not cutting those 2 the exact same length is because I'm pretty sure when I drilled my holes, I didn't go the same depth in each one. And I want to make sure they're even when I add my trees to it. So to determine how long I need my second dowel to be, I'm going to hold that first tree up, and then I can hold my dowel in there, make a mark, and cut that down. And then I'll know the height that I need to add for the hole on the second from the right there. And then I'm going to go over each one of those with some sandpaper to make sure they're nice and flat. And then I'll hold that second one up to see how high I need the center tree to be. And then I'll go over that with some sandpaper. Now I'm going to start by gluing the center tree first, and I am using some Gorilla Hot Glue, which is amazing. It's going to hold it there perfectly. And because the way I measured mine, the two trees on each side of that are going to touch that center tree. So I am going to glue that tree to the center tree as well as to the dowel, and I'll do the exact same thing on the other side. So you only have to hold it there for maybe 30 seconds until that glue sets up. And I am going to go on the back side and add a little bit more hot glue right there at the dowel to reinforce it. Then I can glue each of the trees on the other two dowels on the ends. You could stop there, it's very pretty, but I want to embellish mine with a little bit of greenery, so I'm going to tuck that behind the center one on each side and add some hot glue in the back to hold that in place, and then I'll also add a little bit of hot glue in the front to hold that to the top of the sign, and I'll do that on each side. And also, Dollar Tree carries these beautiful pre-made bows. Now, I love how they look, but I don't want my tails dangling in front of my sign, so I'm going to cut those off, but I'm going to reattach them on the back side so that they come out of the side rather than the bottom. And I'm going to attach that using some hot glue and glue one down on each side. Then I can attach this to the dowel in the center using the tie that already came on the bow by twisting that around. And you could add a little bit of hot glue if you like, just to hold it in place. I hope you enjoyed today's video and found tons of inspiration. Please don't forget to check out the playlist link in my description box below to see all of the beautiful projects that these very talented creators have created for you today. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.